I just want to say before we even start, mate, what an absolute cracking game of rugby that Blues Crusaders was. That's what Super Rugby needs. That obviously is two of the best teams playing, but just a brilliant game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely it was. Not only a great advocate for Super Rugby Pacific, but equally how high tempo the game can be played when you get two sides with a positive attitude in the way they want to play the game. Big games sometimes you can get a game where the players or the team pattern goes insular and the game becomes a bit of a grind because both sides are really focused on the win. However, in this case, both sides were focused on the win, but they were happy to approach it and go into it with an attacking mindset, and we got delivered an absolutely belter of a game subsequently.
And, I mean, you get over the line twice, and you drop the ball, or the tackles were just so goddamn good in the end. I don't know how best to pigeonhole that. Was it the Blues missing those opportunities, or was it just fantastic desperation defence?
A bit of both. I think what you've got to recognise is when the Crusaders get up like they did for big games, and their big players step up, which they did, you've got to fight for every little sort of small amount of opportunity you create or that they give you, because you know that they're going to be tough in every aspect to break down when they're in that type of mindset. So when you do get those opportunities, and we know under the new laws that when you sort of having the mindset close to the line to go for the line, that should you fail to execute properly, drop the ball or not get it down, it doesn't result anymore in a 5-metre scrum. It results in a line dropout, which then relieves the pressure. So you've got to be really accurate to make sure that you do get your execution bang on. And look, it's hard to put my finger on whether or not it was just that toughness in defence of the Crusaders, or probably just not grabbing the moment from the Blues. But they are the difference when you've got two teams that are very equally matched. Those sorts of decisions, when you make them, if you don't get them right, they're quite costly when it comes to the end of the game.
Justin, I know that it's way early in the season, but of course we've got the World Cup. Everyone knows that at the end of the year, and these kind of matches, you do look at All Blacks versus All Blacks. I thought, a couple of thoughts that I wrote down. I thought Talia was awesome. I mean, his power on attack means that he's got to be penciled into one wing. I thought Leicester had his best game I've seen, playing any form of rugby in a hell of a long time. I thought Richie Mwanga, his defence, added another dimension to his game. You look at Big Sam, who does that turnover right at the end, 80 minutes, all the rugby that guy's played. I want to talk about that as the positives. Then I look at the centre combination for the Blues, and Rico and RTS just did not have great games, and Roger was found out really defensively there. So I suppose my big question is, what do we read into these one-on-one matchups against guys that are competing for those positions, or do we not read too much into it?
Yeah, you've got to read into it because, this is as I said, this is a game stacked full of All Blacks, and when you get games like that, it's just below Test match level, isn't it? There's no other step up apart from going from a high intensity Super Rugby, final, or a really important round robin game stacked full of All Blacks. The next step that you take if you want to get any further ahead in the game is into the All Black environment. So absolutely, in those big games, that's when you need your key players to step up, and your All Blacks that have been there and done that before, to control games or win big moments. And Sam Whitelock epitomises that. Like the fact that he plays a game like that, because when it comes down to the crunch and everything is on the line, people like him just step up because they can and they want to. He might drift a bit for the majority of the season, but when it counts and he really needs to make a statement, he does. Equally, then you've got the raw bone talent, like you mentioned, Taylor and also Whainganuku, both of them having outstanding games. That's what blends in with the experience. And then you need the architect, because none of that functions without the architect being able to manipulate the game plan, the areas of the field to play in, and that's your 10. And like you said, not only did Mwanga defend really well, to have the ambition to play from inside your 22, for that cross kick to go to Whainganuku to take those moments and go, you know what, I'm going to trust myself, be confident, and I can see that this is going to be something that we could get some change out of. That's uncoachable, because that's just a player's vision. So, yeah, absolutely. There were some key matchups. The centres, there's always going to be congested traffic in a game like that. But what selectors will look at is they'll probably go, righto, what was the combo like? Okay, maybe we weren't happy with that on the night. What were the individuals like? Did Rico and Talia, did they pair up well? Because that's vitally important as well. You talk about back four, centre out. So, yeah, I think they do look into that with quite a lot of, microscope over certain players individually and combinations.
Justin Marsh, Radio 1 Test veteran for us. And then you contrast that game, mate, and I switched on yesterday and I made a couple of Twitter comments about it. I just guffawed with laughter when I switched over to start with. I thought that somebody had pressed the wrong button and it was Southland versus Taranaki from the NPC, and I thought, oh shit, I got the wrong channel here. because of the jerseys that they had. But also, it's such a drop in class. I mean, there is a gulf, isn't there? And it's, we all know that. I mean, you're talking about two power-packed sides with All Black talent to boot in the Blues and the Crusaders. And the Highlanders and the Force they just don't have that. So you're not going to see the same kind of game.
Frustrating, yeah. And a lot of that has to do with personnel, but equally, circumstances, and circumstances are quite clear for the Highlanders. They simply just needed to win that game, and I think that was their mindset. When you've got the injury toll that they have, up around 10 of their top players missing, and you're actually putting someone like Finn Hurley on the bench who hasn't even played a game of first-class rugby.
Yeah.
He steps straight into super. That's how much they are at the bottom of the barrel in terms of players that they've got in that squad. That's how deep they're having to go at the moment. So all you're after is a win. And subsequently, the game suffered. I thought probably on the day that when the Force got inside the 22, they looked a bit more lethal in terms of being able to score points, but their discipline just wasn't as good. And they probably didn't have the desperation the Highlanders did. They just simply needed to win that game. But yeah, very frustrating to watch, not full. I think when you asked me about the Blues Crusaders, I said two teams that entered with a really positive attitude. I think particularly one team at the weekend in Invercargill entered into that game with a positive attitude to win, but not a positive attitude to play. And then the Force got suckered into aimless kicking, and it was hard work, mate.
Yeah, it was hard.
Like
yeah.
Boring game, if I'm
Yeah, it was. It was a hard watch. I mean, after all the sport I watched over the weekend, it was a bloody hard watch. Yeah. I want to talk about Invercargill and the oysters, obviously, before we leave. But let's go to the Six Nations now, because I know you kept an eye on that. Justin, how much more do we need to know about this Irish side? They came here, they got beaten by 40-odd points at Eden Park. They turned around, muscled up, and convincingly beat us in 2. Since then, they've won 10 in a row. And winning 5 out of 5 Six Nations matches, that doesn't happen that often, which goes to show again how tough and hard it is. Are they better now than they even were last year?
Yeah, they're definitely a better side. They've not only built on from where they were when they came out here and had that success, they've actually grown into their game plan even more, and they've had the ability to do that by introducing a couple of new players, and guys like Sheenan, the hooker who scored a brace of tries. His game has come on, so far from where he was here, and he was good when he was out here, just sort of getting his opportunities. So, yeah, they've grown as a side. You lose Ringrose, but you can bring in Bundy Archie, so they've got depth. Outside backs just still look super dangerous, Hansen and co. So, I certainly feel that they are a side that are at the peak of their powers at the moment. The one thing I will say, to give the rest of the world just a little bit of encouragement leading into the Rugby World Cup, because that's the next time really that we'll see them. I don't know if they've got a warm-up game. They may or may not, but there's not a lot of rugby for those nation sides now. No, so I still thought they struggled a bit against the 14-man England. I really do, and I thought that once they were down to 14. That they would put England away without too many problems. But yes, they won comfortably on the scorebook, finished with late tries.
Yes.
But they also conceded as well. And I felt that they just looked like because of the enormity of the situation, with a huge crowd there cheering them along, they were just slightly out of rhythm. And, World Cup is going to put you under that type of spotlight, and being probably the favourites or equal favourites going into that tournament, they showed a little bit, I guess, of vulnerability in the fact that they weren't as fluid as what they normally are, and I just wonder because that was because of the occasion. So, That's all I can find,
Let's
mate.
hope so.
That's
Yeah,
all
no,
I can
let's
find
hope
to
so.
break them down to try and beat them.
Let's hope so, because look, I mean, this is going to be, and I think it's advantageous to the All Blacks, and I know that Ian Foster, I think, is doing a clever job of underplaying it and talking up those teams while he's over there at the moment, and I think this is the attitude that we should take. We should do the old massa, oh, you guys, you are the best in the world, and let's just go in a little under the radar. The best All Black side, I don't have to tell you this, is an All Black side with their backs against the wall, where everyone hates us and thinks that we're shit. No, yeah, come and get some if that's the case. I want us to go under the radar, mate.
Yeah, but we've got to do that with smarts. We've got to be very clever in doing that, because what we've got to do is give the opposition a little bit of a sense of false security, but equally we've got to not convince ourselves that we are the fourth or fifth best team in the world at the moment the way we're playing, because the reality is we are. But we can be the best team in the world, and it's about the players believing in that, not believing that they are better than us, because All Blacks don't function like that. We never operate like that. When we put that jersey on, we are the best rugby team with the best 23 players in the world, and no one can stop us when we're out there on that field. And that's the mindset they've got to have. Oh, yeah, we'll tell you you're number one, Ireland.
Yeah.
But realistically, in our changing room, we're number one. And that's the mindset they've got to have.
Justin Marshall with us. It's called, in inverted commas, a rugby incident, the red card to Freddie Stewart. And I know that this, again, causes a lot of debate all around the world. To the absolute letter of the law, if that's the letter of the law, I'm just not so sure. I mean, things happen on. I don't know, mate. It's frustrating. Maybe it didn't change the whole rhythm of the game. Maybe it did, because if England had 15, as you say, the Irish were nervous and they weren't dominating at that stage. But is that a red card?
No, quite conclusively that's not a red card. Now, under the laws of the game at the moment, and sometimes the ridiculous way that we are officiating them, and the directive that's coming from World Rugby, then they've got every grounds to give that a red card. But when you look at it being a rugby accident, not incident, rugby accident, 100% Stuart he was bracing himself, because the way the collision was going, he was protecting himself by turning his body in. And yes, he turned his elbow toward, but he could see a collision coming his way, so he just braced himself. He didn't lean into it. He just turned, and the momentum of the other player was what led to the collision. If you look at it and slow it down, you can see that's his mindset. He can see what's going to happen in front of him. He just turns his body towards the attacking player and braces himself for the impact, because he's going to get hit as well. The fact that his elbow has gone into the face of the player was a complete fluke, an accident. And to be recarded for that, and for it to affect the English side and the game, that's just simply unfair, if you ask me, because the law is not understanding sometimes a collision in the game is accidental, regardless of whether it makes contact with the head or not. It's purely an accident. And that's where the law is slightly off at the moment, unfortunately, and we are getting these issues that shouldn't have happened at the weekend, in my mind.
Justin Marshall with us, always a pleasure, mate. And finally, you got out of the giggle. Tell me that you got some, and when you were eating some of those oysters on the way back home too, because if you're buying 6 pots, you bought 7, didn't you?
Yeah, mate, no. My good old sparring partner, Jimmy Cowan, I sent him a message. He works on the oyster boats down there out of Invercargill now, and he gets inundated. But halfbacks look after each other, mate. So I left a few, he's a keen golfer, a few golf balls on the drivers. You don't have to lock your car in Invercargill very often, so I left some golf balls for him, and when I came back to my car, there was 5 dozen oysters for me. So it was beautiful, a beautiful thing.
That's not a bad trade.
That's a good trade.